Hi everyone, happy Mental Health Day. So I thought in honor of today, I should join the conversation and you should too. But the way that I want to join the conversation is just to explain what is mental health and to share some practical tips that you can start doing today to support you with your mental health. So when we think about mental health, the first thing that comes to mind is, do I have a mental health difficulty or am I struggling with a mental health challenge? Do I have depression? Am I anxious? Has there been a traumatic event in my life that I'm dealing with or struggling with? And we think if we don't have that, then we're fine. But we know that mental health is way more than that. So mental health, first of all, is fluid and is constantly changing based on external and internal factors. And we know that there is no health without mental health. So we all have mental health. And the best way to think about mental health is to think about it on a continuum. And there are two things that are constantly interacting. One is our mental well-being, and the second one is the presence of mental health challenges or disorders. So when we think about our mental well-being, what we're really thinking about is how well are we feeling today as we're existing, and how does that allow us and open us up to engaging in productive activities, whether it's work or school or family life? How does that help us to maintain and build healthy relationships? How does that help us to deal with difficulties that may arise along the way? So that's mental well-being. And then also we have mental health challenges or difficulties. This is when there have been changes to the way that we think, the way that we feel, and our behaviors. And this changes impact on our functioning, whereby we're struggling to do activities with work or school or social events, and that's mental health difficulties. So when these two things interact, then you realize that there are different states that we can have at every given time. So it's possible to have a flourishing mental well-being and also have no diagnosis or mental health difficulty or challenge. But also it's possible to have no diagnosis but then be struggling with our mental well-being, whereby we're struggling to engage in the activities that are meaningful to us. It's also possible to have a diagnosis, to be experiencing mental health challenges, but be thriving and have a thriving mental well-being. And lastly, it's also possible to have a diagnosis and also be struggling with our mental well-being. I hope that wasn't confusing, but I guess the key thing is that there's hope. So even when you're dealing with a mental health challenge, it's possible to still live a meaningful and fulfilling life. So let's think about practical steps that you can start today to help you with your mental health. The first thing is connecting with people. I know it sounds cliche, but it does a lot more than it might sound. First of all, when we connect with others, it builds our self-worth. It also creates more opportunities to have helpful and positive experiences. And lastly, it gives us a support network that we can lean on when we're struggling or we're having a difficult time. The next thing is to be active. When we're active, that changes the the environment in our brains, and it releases feel-good hormones. And secondly, it can boost our self-esteem and it can give us a sense of achievement. Another thing is to learn a new skill. And maybe before COVID, that might have sounded easier said than done. But one of the things that COVID has really shown us is that we can learn new skills if we dedicate the time to it. And when we learn new skills, again, it helps with our self-worth, and also it gives us a sense of purpose, and it's also a really nice way to connect with others. Another thing that can be really helpful is to give to others. Who knew that doing things for others can impact how we feel within ourselves? But when we give to others, it gives us a sense of fulfillment, it gives us a sense of self-worth, and it's also another really lovely way to connect to others. And the last but not least is to be present focused. Being present focused is so important, because when we're present focused, one, we can pay attention to how we're thinking, how we're feeling emotionally in our bodies, and then that can give us more choice in the ways that we respond to it. And also it can give us a different perspective on things. And there are really lovely ways to cultivate being present. Just doing a deep breathing exercise is one way. Doing a stop, I talk about a stop acronym on my Psych Tips page, where you pause, you take a deep breath, you observe what's going on for me, and then based on what you observe, you proceed. So stop. So those are just some helpful tips that you can start doing today that can have an impact on your mental health. And these tips have been well researched, and many people have said when they do these things, it does impact how they feel within themselves. So I hope that's helpful. And again, happy World Mental Health Day.